Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on setting your tuition fees delivered by the ISM Trust. I'm Francesca Treadaway and I'm Senior Communications Manager here at the ISM. You may have met me recently at the Music and Drama Education Expo or heard me speak at the EFG London Jazz Festival. Welcome. Before we begin, a few technical points. So the content of this presentation is for information purposes only, and it is not intended to be a substitute for legal or other professional advice and should not be relied upon as such. You can contact us about your specific situation, and ISM members can contact the ISM legal team. You can't see me, but you should be able to see the PowerPoint presentation. You should also be able to hear me, but I can't hear you. So if you have any questions, please type them in the questions box and I'll answer as many as possible at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to view on the ISM website at ism.org/webinars. In this webinar, I'm going to be telling you about the results of our recent survey of fees for music teaching and giving you some tips on how to use the survey when setting your own fees. For those of you who maybe don't know us, the Incorporated Society of Musicians, or the ISM, was established in 1882 to promote the art of music and to support professional musicians. Now, many years later, we support a membership of over 9,000 music professionals of all kinds, and that's teachers, performers, composers, and many more besides, with legal advice and representation, tax and business advice, and award-winning professional development opportunities, along with campaigning and advocacy for the music sector as a whole. Some of you may have read our recent reports, including the Consultation on the Future of Music Education and the APPG for Music Education State of the Nation report. Through our sister charity, the ISM Trust, which was launched in 2014, we have established a means to share our experience and expertise with musicians beyond just those who are ISM members, so that's you, the entire sector. And this webinar is part of the Trust's professional development opportunities, which are open to all musicians, regardless of whether they are an ISM member or not. We are in a dialogue with musicians, so we find out what matters to you and we act on it. What you tell us helps shape our campaigns, services and development activities for members and for the music sector. And this session is part of that dialogue. So I hope you will find the following information helpful, and it will be available on our website ism.org and also ismtrust.org shortly afterwards. There are two parts to this presentation. Firstly, I will take us through the summary of the survey findings, and secondly, I will go through some tips on how you can use these results when setting and negotiating your own fees. The presentation will take about 30 minutes, and there'll be time for some of your questions at the end. So let's get started. Just a few notes about our survey. So our survey is the largest of its kind in the UK. We've been commissioning these surveys since 2006 and achieve a consistently high response rate. The present survey, of which these results are born from, was undertaken in autumn 2018 and asked teachers and accompanists about teaching fees as at September 2018 and accompanist fees between January and September 2018. Over 1,600 music teachers responded, and that is a mix of private teachers, self-employed VMTs, employed VMTs and accompanists. Respondents included ISM members and non-members. Statistically, this matters. The high response rate gives credibility to the survey and is an authoritative indicator of fees actually charged by professionals. Undertaking surveys of fees members charge in a variety of settings is important in helping members understand their values as professionals, particularly when they are freelancers and there is no set rate for their work. Just a quick note that we cannot set rates for freelancers. This is actually against competition law rules and we could be accused of price fixing by the competition authorities, but we can show you what the landscape looks like at least so you can make informed decisions about the rates that you charge. Nevertheless, we can express a view as far as employed music teachers are concerned, and we'll come to this shortly. So the survey results findings fall into 4 sections, and that's private music teachers, self-employed visiting music teachers, accompanists for examinations, and employed visiting music teachers. You will also see asterisks on the results, and this means as it says on the slide. So for 1, half the respondents charged this amount or more, and half charged this amount or less, and for 2, Most respondents charged fees within this range, and only 20% charged more and 20% charged less. So on to private teachers. The first section focuses on private teachers. You can see on the slide the results, which breaks down the regions of which the results fall into. A note on terminology used here. By majority, we mean that 20% of the respondents paid more than the top end of the range and 20% below the lower end. By midpoint, we mean that 50% charged the £30 shown here or more, and 50% charged this or less. So back to results. The survey showed that overall a significant majority of teachers charged between £28 and £40 per hour, and the midpoint was £32. The geographic differences between the fees mirror previous findings. As one would expect, fees charged in London were significantly higher than those charged elsewhere in the UK, with fees charged in Inner London being significantly higher than those charged in Greater London. Fees charged in the South East were also significantly higher than those charged in all other regions. Between these regions outside of the South East, there were no significant differences in the fees charged. We were also asked sometimes why the results do not split out into more regional analysis, so this year we have split them out into more regions for a bigger picture of the rates charged. The regions with the highest fees were Greater London, as you can see there, Central London, South East, West Midlands and South West England. Moving on to employed teachers. As you can see, we have now published our recommendations for the academic year 2019-20 fees for employed visiting music teachers in schools. These are set out in the table below. They are inclusive of holiday pay, which schools should pay in addition. Across all types of schools in all regions, the average hourly rate for one-to-one tuition was £29.83. The lowest hourly rate recorded was £9, and this was for teaching in a state-funded school in North West England. The maximum hourly rate quoted was £70, which for teaching in an independent school in Inner London. 20% of respondents were paid £24 or less per hour, while 20% were paid £36.25 or more. And the median was £30 per hour. These rates show a slight increase from last year. There is no significant difference in the hourly rates between those working for state-funded schools and music services. There is also no significant difference in the hourly rates between those working for independent schools and those working for specialist music independent schools. However, there are significant differences between independent schools and both state-funded schools and music services, and between specialist music schools and the same school two school types. These are important points for employed VMTs. Do remember that employed VMT rates, which on the face of it are lower when expressed as an hourly rate compared with other teaching rates, will carry other costs to the employer, such as employer's national insurance, which is 13.8% over a certain threshold, the employer contribution to your pension if you are enrolled in one, and statutory holiday pay, which according to the ACAS formula is 12.07% of your pay. Also remember that as an employee, you will have deductions made for income tax on a pay-as-you-earn basis, and your national insurance contributions and any other employee contributions or any other agreed deductions. Moving on to self-employed visiting music teachers. Before I begin, we have received queries regarding rates for group teaching, which is of increasing prominence in schools. While we cannot advise rates for group teaching this year, we have heard examples of formulas from our members as to how they have calculated rates for their own group teaching. And you can find out more at ism.org/advice/tips for setting music tuition rates. As in previous years, the latest survey results indicate significant differences between fees paid in independent schools and in state-funded schools and by music services and hubs. Rates quoted for self-employed part-time teachers range from £10 to £70 per hour for one-to-one tuition, with an average of £32.87. The midpoint is £32. 20% of respondents charged £26.50 or less, while 20% charged £39.23 or more. The breakdown of teachers is as follows. 41.2% of teachers were working in an independent school, 42.1% in state-funded schools, 13.4% in music services, and 3.3% in specialist music schools. The survey results show that the majority of music teachers in Greater London and the South East charge more for their services than teachers located in Inner London and the rest of the UK. 42.3% of self-employed part-time music teachers in schools have had an increase in their rate since September 2017, and almost 40%, which is 39.7%, expect the rate to increase over the next 12 months. The size of the increase ranges from 12 pence through to £10, with an average increase of £1.64. The median increase was £1. As with other years, we get a lot of questions in relation to self-employed music teachers and room hire, so we asked questions to self-employed teachers as to whether they need to pay for room hire. Of those who did answer this question, just over 16% said that they did pay for room hire, and the average hourly rate quoted was just under £3. And some respondents commented that they had paid an amount per term rather than hourly. Moving on to Accompanists, respondents were asked to indicate the hourly rate charged for accompanying between January and September 2018 for the following categories on the slide. As expected, the higher the grade, the higher the rate. 30% of all teachers who responded to the survey said they had done some accompanying work between January and September 2018, and overall the rates have appeared to increase slightly from last year. This concludes our review of the results of this survey, and you will find the summary of the results on our website ism.org, and we will give the web address again at the end of the presentation. So, on to setting your fees. So how can you use these results when setting your fees? So here are a few things to think about just to start with. Have a think about where your general region is, but also your specific location. For example, I come from West London, but really far west, so far out that my season ticket extends to Zone 6. The ISM is also in West London, but really central, which is Bayswater in Zone 1. So although both are in London, there will be marked differences as to what can be charged. What I can charge in Bayswater is very much different to what I can charge way beyond Zone 4. This can also apply at school level. If you're teaching in a school, what is the status of that school and how does that line up with local conditions? Have a think about what else is going on. How is the economy affecting your clients? How is Brexit affecting your clients? How is their personal finance because of Brexit and the economy? Inflation is also quite low still, but is predicted to rise. You also need to think about how all the above is affecting you as well. For example, if you are a private music teacher, can you still cover your overheads? Or do you need to factor increases in costs into your fees? Having an understanding of your market value is important. These bullet points on the slide are straightforward commercial points. As we all know, knowledge is power, so use your knowledge and judgment to make decisions about what you charge. So if you are having a good awareness of what others are charging and watching this webinar today, then you're in the right place. But at the same time, you will want to make sure your work is properly valued and that you will not be affecting others by undercharging. There were examples of teachers answering the survey who were charging as little as £10 for their work. Charging too little devalues the professional status of teachers as a whole, so do have an eye to external issues. Again, these results can help you research the going rate. Have a think about where you fit in as well. This slide follows from the previous slide to the extent that it's all about understanding your circumstances and using your judgment to make decisions. These points are really about you and your own background and experience as a professional teacher and where you are now, both geographically and also in terms of your career. We've touched on location and external factors, so the next things to ask include how long you've been teaching, what are your qualifications, and how specialised you are. You also need to think about certain life factors, including what about where you are in your life right now? Do you need lots of pupils, or can you afford to have fewer? What is the wider picture of your life, and how does earning a living from teaching fit in it? You may want to have fewer pupils, and you may be able to charge more for those you do have. You may also want to attract new pupils if you're starting out, so price could also be a factor there in gaining new pupils. I'm sure you'll be able to think of other relevant examples in your own cases. On to the interesting bit, negotiating rates with pupils and parents. Negotiating fees with your students or parents of your pupils can bring challenges, usually because of the personal relationships involved in this context. Talking about fees and increases needs handling with some care, as we all know. So here are some suggestions for you to think about. The obvious one first would be to use our survey results as a tool, as they are an indicator of what qualified professional music teachers such as yourself have been charging recently. You can download the teachers' fees survey results from the ISM website, and you can print it and take it along with you. It's best to start out with, or at least introduce when appropriate, a signed teaching contract which sets out the initial teaching rate and provisions for future increases in fees. This keeps things on a business-like footing. ISM members can download a template private tuition contract from the contract section of the Advice Centre on the ISM website, which can be easily adapted for school teaching work where your contract is with your pupils' parents. I would also suggest giving plenty of notice if you intend to increase your rates, ideally months, not weeks or even days. This can really fray a relationship. Again, you can download a Notice of Fees Increase template from the Advice Centre on the ISM website under Fees and Pay. Also keep an explanation in your back pocket about reasons why you charge more than some other teachers in your area. Sometimes the reasons might include because you are more qualified or experienced than they are, and that those other teachers may not be ISM members or listed on the ISM music directory. Remember that you do not have to increase your rates every year. Our surveys suggest that most teachers raise their fees only once every 2 or 3 years. But be prepared, if necessary, to point out that music teaching is your business and your livelihood depends on it. School rates can also bring a different set of challenges. In practice, many schools specify a uniform rate to be charged by all their VMTs. Equally, you will probably not want to charge more or less than other music teachers in the school for fear of losing pupils to them or to be seen as undercutting them. But saying this, none of this should stop you from being proactive in seeking a higher fee if you feel that the school is paying a fee that is too low. So reviewing your rates annually, taking into account our survey results, and checking you are not falling behind the pack is important. If you think your school rates are too low, don't be afraid to raise this with them. You could do this as a group representing the VMTs as a whole. Alternatively, your head of music might be prepared to negotiate a fairer rate for you. Always remember that ISM members can also talk to our legal team to see how we can help. Always have a contract where possible. When the ISM goes to speak to students about legal essentials for musicians, we always stress the importance of contracts, and in particular the importance of getting things in writing. And very much the same applies here. It can save so much unhappiness later on if the terms for a job or a piece of work are set out clearly in a written document from the outset. As I said earlier, don't be afraid to introduce a contract with existing students or parents at the start of the term. We have templates for private teachers which ISM members can download. We also recommend getting written details from a school if self-employed. This may include an agreed commitment to be offered a room for teaching. If this is the case, get it in writing. Any other obligations with the school or for you, get it in writing and make sure it reflects what you have agreed. If you are employed, your employer is obliged to give you a statement of particulars which will set out the key points of your engagement. This will form part of the contract of employment. If you are in any doubt as to the terms and conditions of your employment, get in touch with our legal team if you're an ISM member. That concludes our review of our survey and our tips for setting fees. We hope that this has been helpful, and as I mentioned earlier, you can find a summary of the results on our website ism.org, separated out into the 4 categories we reviewed earlier. Just wanted to give you a quick note on what the ISM can provide for you. If you're not a member, listen up, and if you are, well, here's a reminder of what you can get as part of your membership. So members are entitled to legal services, insurances and more. ISM members are entitled to direct access to one-to-one legal advice and representation from our expert in-house team of lawyers on matters relating to employment issues and disputes, including freelance working, draft contracts and contractual disputes, safeguarding and child protection, discrimination, and anything else which affects your career as a music educator. If you are an ISM member and have a legal inquiry, please email legal@ism.org or telephone 020-7221-3499. ISM members also receive public liability insurance up to £10 million in the event of claims against you relating to injuries to third parties or damage to their property, an unpaid fee service that recovers overdue payments owed to you in relation to your work, a DBS disclosure application service and advice, listing on our music directory to help you promote your services and get work, and access to an active community of music educators who can meet and share ideas. Find out what else you are entitled to as an ISM member at ism.org. As you are aware, as you are here, the ISM Trust also provides webinars, and our webinar series cover need-to-know subjects such as graded examinations, changes in primary and secondary curriculum, setting your tuition fees, teaching students with dyslexia and other educational needs, primary, GCSE and A-level music, progression, curriculum and assessment, and more. Find out what else we have coming up at ism.org/webinar. We would also like to recommend our Teachers Pack to you. This pack is full of valuable information for all teachers and also includes some of these thoughts on setting fees. You can download it from our website, so just look under the Advice Centre menu on the ISM website and select Advice Packs and it will take you to the right page. It's also available on ismtrust.org. So, thank you very much indeed for listening. Here is the address where to find the survey results on our website. So now we are open for questions.